Prince George's County police officer was involved in a deadly crash, which resulted in the death of a retired DC detective, an officer Anthony Coleman. Maryland State Police has said that, they've already said that, alcohol and speed contributed to the crash on Coleman's part. Can you give me any information in regards to that investigation and what the status is of Officer Coleman at this point in time?
Yeah, so first and foremost, our condolences for the DC officer that lost their life in that incident. Maryland State Police is the lead investigator on that. Any status on that case will come from them. We're still waiting to hear. We're cooperating with them fully. Currently, the officer is held on administrative duty.
Do you know if they've, I know you said that they're, Maryland State Police is the lead. Do you know if they're recommending charges at this point? Or is that something that might come out at a later time?
Yeah. To my knowledge, they have not released that information yet, but that would have to come from them.
So the first thing I kind of wanted to ask you about is, you were brought in by County Executive Aisha Braveboy. She talks a lot about, making changes and kind of changing the way things are done in Prince George's. Can you talk a little bit about the mandate that she gave you when she brought you back into the Prince George's County Police Department?
So I know her vision is to unify the county, which is a shared vision. I think that every entity in Prince George's County should work together towards the same goal. How can I support another component of Prince George's County if I don't know what they're dealing with? How can they support me if they don't know what our organization is dealing with? All for the betterment of the community. So I think that mandate that we share is unifying county government, but also within the police department, for me, is unifying the police department to make sure that as in what she's doing with the county government is breaking down silos. To me, where I see silos in the police department, where I think there should be better levels of communication internally, we do make sure that happens here.
Okay, and can you give me a little bit more as far as, what that looks like for you? Because, you've had a decades-long career here at the Prince George's County Police Department, and so, from all of that experience that you have, what are some ways that you think you can do that?
Yeah, so I've had the ability here at Prince George's County to see what works and see how folks can be successful at every level of the organization. So for me, it's critical that I ensure that our team is providing the resources that every member of this organization needs to do the job that we're asking them to do. And sometimes that means taking a hard look at ourselves and seeing where we need to advance and where we need to have conversations and how we need to look at things, and do we need to look at things different. So highlight the things that we're doing great, critique the things that we're not doing so great, and then determine how we can take these things and be better at it. So which is, kind of the analogy that I use is, we like it or not, the New England Patriots, best sports franchise in our era, but after Super Bowl 4, 5, 6, the New England Patriots watched game film and they were hard on themselves to see how can we win the Super Bowl next year. Right. So you can't be afraid to look at yourselves and see how we can improve.
And speaking to that, right, the crime rate in Prince George's County has been going down. That is something that the county has been working on, but there still is, concern in regards to youth crime, right? We're still seeing these kinds of, impromptu events where, you have a bunch of young people kind of getting into trouble and things like that. What are some ways that, what are some issues or some gaps that, you've identified and you think the police department should focus on?
So in Prince George's County, we haven't seen the same level of the juvenile meetups and the disorder that causes here in Prince George's County. And I think that's because the county took a swift approach to implementing curfews for those areas, such as the harbor, where the juveniles tend to want to congregate. I think for violent crimes and things of that nature, the county executive, when she was the state's attorney, started to put some things in place through diversion programs and then making sure violent offenders were held. So that we're seeing starting to work. But in Prince George's County, we have elaborate youth outreach programs. We have police explorers where we have a great number of kids from the county that work with our officers on a weekly basis. So they serve as mentors, they serve as guidance counselors, help with school, all these different things. We have a police athletic league that's absolutely phenomenal, We just partnered with the Russell brothers to do a boxing event at our District 3 station. So we're reaching out to world championship boxers that are working hand in hand with this organization to uplift our youth. So that in conjunction with everything else we're doing, I think we're seeing some positive effects and results from that.
All right, that's good to hear. You talked a little bit about resources and everything, and so that kind of brings you over to staffing. Staffing issues is something that, a lot of law enforcement agencies are dealing with. Neighboring Montgomery County has also talked about their issues with staffing. How is staffing here at PGPD?
So we need about 330 officers to be at full complement. How do we get there? Different story. So if you look at any police department our size, you have about 60 to 80 people that retire or leave in a year. So that means you have to hire 60 to 80 just to keep up with the numbers that you have. And then you have to get additional to bolster your rank and file. So what we're trying to do is be a little bit more innovative in the way we recruit. Our pay is competitive, but just get people to understand that this is a great place to work in Prince George's County. Our community embraces this organization. If you want to come work someplace that truly understands community policing and works hand in hand with the community and presents a plethora of opportunities for people, whether it's promotion, lateral movement into detectives, helicopter, the Marine unit, whatever it is you want to do, you can do here at the Prince George's County Police Department. And you have a county executive and the chief that support our officers, and we try to provide them with everything they need to do the job that we're asking them to do. So, we're hiring, we're definitely hiring. We're looking for some qualified folks to come aboard. So if you're interested in a position, please apply.
And I would ask, how much of a strain, when, kind of given the staffing numbers, how much of a strain does that put on the officers that are already on the job when there aren't enough bodies to kind of fill these roles?
Yeah, so I think that what we do is kind of buy back officers through overtime and different initiatives like that. But we monitor them to make sure that they're in a good place. We have things in place to ensure that they're not being overworked, and so we do that to ensure, because part of what we look at now and what you've seen law enforcement transition to is looking at the wellness of the officers. And we have an officer wellness program here. We have peer support program here, so we do monitor our folks.
I'm sure you've heard about what's been happening in regards to ICE. Prince George's County is kind of lauded, being one of the most diverse immigrant communities, in the state of Maryland. However, with all these ICE raids that are not happening in the country, more law enforcement agencies in Maryland have talked about working with ICE as far as conducting some of these raids. Where does PGPD stand in regards to this, and what would your message be to the immigrant communities here in Prince George's?
So we don't do immigration enforcement at the Prince George's County Police Department. We're not asking what your immigration status is. We're here to serve every member of our community, regardless of your status. We're not concerned about that. What the community needs to know is they can trust us to come out and address their issues, be it crime, violence, but we need them to come forward and give us information, and it makes it hard to do if your community has to worry about, can they trust you? So we don't enforce immigration status.
Okay. I think that might be everything. Is there anything you wanted to say that might not have come up?
No, so really what I want to do, Donovan, is thank you for coming out. Thank you for having an interest in our police department. We really appreciate you guys getting the message out. Your role in what we do is critical. You provide information to the community, and us having a relationship is important and critical to the operations of this organization for the betterment of Prince George's County. So thank you for your